This is Could a Long Distance Relationship Be Worth It by Remy Valdivia. Now you may be wondering, what does a long distance relationship have to do with my life? And I am in a long distance relationship. My boyfriend goes to a school in Wisconsin, and I remember the day we left so clearly. We were driving to San Francisco airport, and I did not want to let go of him. I wanted to be constantly holding his hand, scratching the back of his head, or telling him how much I miss him. Then we got to the airport and everything seemed so unreal. My life was about to change drastically and everything around me seemed so normal. My boyfriend and I got to the security checkpoint and I couldn't delay the moment any longer. I had to say goodbye to him. He kissed me, said he loved me, and then he was on his way to Wisconsin for college. It didn't really hit me that he was gone for about 3 days after he left, and all of a sudden this wave of sadness came over me, and I thought, how in the world are we going to make this work? A lot of people who I talk to about my long distance relationship seem to have this intense lack of confidence that my boyfriend and I could make this relationship work. From people that I just met this year to even my mom, everyone has cast their doubts in my relationship, and it was just solely based on the distance. All of the skepticism about my relationship got me thinking if my boyfriend and I could actually make this work. I had to look very deep into myself and think about if we could make it work. And while I was thinking about this, I thought this man makes you the kind of happy that you never thought possible. So why would you give that up just because of the distance? Long distance relationships, as everyone knows, have a negative connotation, and I feel like I'm an example of how a long distance relationship could actually work. And I know that's hard to conceptualize, but my boyfriend and I are making it work. And I want to explain why long distance relationships aren't this dreadful monster and maybe change someone's mind to give a long distance relationship a chance and to not potentially miss out on a relationship that can last a lot, like a lifetime, just because of the distance. To me, long distance relationships are as simple as they have their ups and downs, but when you finally get to reunite with your partner after some time apart, that feeling should be bottled up and sold for a lot of money because there is no other feeling that compares to that one. And now here are some long distance relationship stats. LongDistanceRelationships.net reported that in 2005 there were 3,569,000 married people who were in a long distance relationship. Compare that to 5 years ago, that in 2000, where there were only 839 married persons in a long distance relationship. That is an increase of 30% in the rate of long distance relationships in just 5 years. There are four main types of long distance relationships. The first is of married people, which is usually caused by work and traveling for work. The second is college, which I personally recognize with. The third is religious reasons, such as in the Mormon church, one partner goes on a mission. And the fourth reason is military deployments. As long distance relationships become more popular, more and more people are starting to worry that the success rate of long distance relationships will go down just because the amount is increasing. When in fact, geographically close or not, each relationship has the same percentage of breaking up over time, so that proves why someone should not worry about the success rate of long distance relationships. There are four main concerns people have with long distance relationships, and the first is that long distance relationships are less satisfying. Second is that cheating is more frequent in a long distance relationship. Third, people fear that there will be a disconnect between them and their partner due to the distance. And fourth, that long distance relationships have this amount of overwhelming stress. I'm going to outweigh the positives of these four concerns with the negatives and prove why they should not be concerns at all. The first concern that people have is satisfaction. Julie Beck of The Atlantic analyzed a study done at Queen's University, and the study examined the satisfaction in long-distance relationships. The study includes 717 people in long-distance relationships and 425 people in geographically close relationships. The participants of the study were asked about their attitudes towards long-distance relationships and completed a questionnaire designed to assess the quality of their relationships. The results found that couples in long-distance relationships show that there is no less satisfaction in an LDR compared to a GCR. The next reason why most people are hesitant to engage in a long-distance relationship is that there is this fear that it is more likely for their significant other to cheat on them while they are separated. The website longdistancerelationship.org examined 3 studies and found that the risk of having an affair while separated by distance is equal to that of geographically close couples. There is no substantial evidence to support why people should worry more in long-distance relationships, and this is still a concern in people's mind, and hopefully this proves why this should not be a concern. Brianna Skinner wrote an academic journal article on the perceptions of college students in a long-distance relationship. She focused on women's perceptions of the commitment level of an LDR, and in summary, Skinner found that there were no gender differences on the amount of commitment or effort an LDR requires. Being a woman myself and seeing that there's basically no difference between the sexes on how committed someone can be in an LDR gives me peace of mind and should give everyone, especially women, that are thinking about an LDR that same feeling. I'm confident with my own relationship with my boyfriend, and seeing the statistics that it is not more common for infidelity to occur in an LDR reassures me that I have made the right decision. There are some other concerns people may have other than the 4 main ones with long-distance relationships. Jasmine Flower of the NeuroAlchemist reported in 2007 the disadvantages and advantages of long-distance relationships. Her first point of why long-distance relationships aren't for everyone is that if someone values physical connection over emotional connection, a successful LDR can almost be impossible. I might be wrong by saying this, but I don't think someone who values physical intimacy over emotional connection should be in a committed relationship in the first place. Another con that Flower explains is that misunderstandings can happen more often in a long-distance relationships. These misunderstandings can lead to a conflict that cannot be resolved because of the distance. I personally identify with this concern because the first semester when my boyfriend and I were away from each other, we would constantly bicker and fight. I think this happens in almost every relationships, but in the LDR, any disagreement is put under a magnifying glass, and that can be potentially detrimental to the relationship. With a long-distance relationship being such a big change, there will always be a time period where it's hard to effectively solve a problem, but with time there comes many positives. My boyfriend and I have been in a long-distance relationship for a year now, and with any disagreement, we say our side of the story, try to understand the other's point of view, and then come to agreement and move on like nothing happened. The third concern, and the one I personally feared the most, is disconnect. I fear that when my boyfriend and I would reunite, it wouldn't be the same as before, and it would just be awkward between us. That is not what happened, and I'm closer to him more than ever. I think it is one of the coolest things to feel so close to someone that you can literally tell them anything and you do not have to worry about what you will say because it will cause an argument. A blogger by the name of Grace Mineta is a prime example of how an RDL can be successful. She was in a long-distance relationship for 2 years and now says the distance strengthened the relationship between her and her now husband. In her blog, there was a quote that simply proves my point, and it is, those in long-distance relationships reported feeling a stronger bond than couples who lived in the same city. I will never take any kiss or hug for granted ever again, and those in a geographically close relationship may get into a routine and start taking those little things for granted. The fourth and final concern is stress. Stress in a relationship is inevitable. In geographically close relationships, the couple can hug and it can be over with. In a long distance, they actually have to talk it through, and in turn, they have better communication. Carol Pistol, Amber Roberts, and Marion Chapman found that global stress is equal whether or not the relationship is long distance or geographically close. This proves why there should be no concern in someone's mind that stress in a long distance relationship is unbearable. Some unique stressors long distance relationships may have is booking a flight, actually traveling, and driving many hours. This stress is outweighed by the fact that you get to see your partner.